Or in the case of like a rock concert, it's impractical to have a rock concert in your
Stacks.
living room.
Very
Stacks of
impractical,
amps.
yeah.
Yeah, just racks and racks.
Yeah.
Halloween is rapidly approaching in this part of the world, so we're all festive and spooky here, and we figured we'd talk about something totally unrelated, dynamics in SLAM as it pertains to headphones.
Slam.
It's more of a perception thing, I guess. People use the term kind of loosely at times.
Which brings me to try to understand, why are people so afraid of ghosts? Like, they have no slam.
It's very scary.
As far as I know, they
Lot
can't
of
hurt
slam.
you. They
So
have
many
no,
dynamics.
They have no mass.
That one has mass, though.
A little
Mhm.
bit,
Yeah.
yeah. But in the movies, they just kind of float through you, right?
Yeah.
Well, I guess it depends on the movie,
Yeah.
though.
Why the hell are you so afraid of these things?
It's pretty scary.
Some, they can move stuff.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
sometimes.
You hear like doors opening.
Oh, that's true.
lights flicker and
Chains
stuff.
rattling,
Yeah,
they drag
yeah,
chains. How
yeah.
do they do that?
I don't know.
They're, they're ghostly chains.
Yeah. Oh, could be. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's the same with audio.
Mm.
You got to wonder when you get like a headphone with amazing slam. It's like our AB 1266 is noted for bass, right? How do you do that? People probably would like to know how you do that. And I'd say, well, sugar and spice and everything nice, but there's a lot of things that are involved with this complicated topic of slam.
Yeah, it's not just one thing that you need to do.
Yeah.
Well, it's everything. It's always everything. I know we talked about this in the past, but I think that actually encompasses a bit more than people think. Because if you actually make a headphone, and by that I mean you make all of the things, you design the driver, the chassis, the shell, the ear pads, the headband, everything, right? Every component is designed and manufactured either by or exclusively for you. You have a lot of control. You could make pretty much anything. And then the question comes up, what do you make? Why do you use this driver over another? What are your priorities? Because like everything, there's pros and cons to various methodologies. There's always a limit somewhere, price, design, size, whatever. And well, there's only one way it can be done that ends up with the final product, that ends up actually being what you deliver.
We have an
But-
old video we did a while ago on why the AB 1266 was made the way it was. It was a while
Yeah.
ago. We should probably rehash that, not in this video, but in a
Mhm.
future video, it'd be a good thing to discuss because that was 2 generations ago, and it's still the same rationale. But I think we talked about all the thousands or tens of thousands of the design decisions that had to go into the final, till we got to what was considered the final product. And it was all really trade-offs and, deciding which way to go and how that would improve the sound. It was all about the sound. And but yeah, I mean, it's a confusing topic, right? Because it's like if you don't design speakers or speaker systems for a living or headphones, you wouldn't know. All you know is the final result. You put it on your head and go, oh yeah, it sounds like this or it sounds like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you have no idea why it sounds like this or that. In fact, some of the guys designing headphones don't even know why it sounds like this or that. So when you run into it sometimes, you know what I mean? So anyway, bottom line is that, there's a lot of confusion there because you see it a lot. Like if you look at anything, any market, I know in audio, for example, people tend to equate the wrong things with the cause and effects are not proper.
Right.
Very frequently,
Yeah, some of it is like ancient history, what do you call it, old wives' tales.
Mm.
That's just been handed down over the generations, and then other things are just complete, just wind
speculation,
up in,
Yeah,
guesses, pure guesses.
Yep.
Some guy came up with an answer and everyone just went with it, and it wasn't the right answer.
You see that a lot, actually. It is a bit of an issue.
Yeah.
Because you'll see people over and over on forums. One person many years ago said, and they sounded like they knew what they were talking about, said this thing is done this way because of this, but they don't know. They just made it up. And people go, oh, that seems like it's possible. And then it more or less perpetuates as fact with enough time. And it might not be fact, might not be right at all. And over time, through enough of these things, people kind of generate a vision of how things are done, why they're done a certain way, what's possible. However, when you're actually making a product, when you're designing, say, a headphone, you literally can make anything. It's up to your imagination and your budget, how much money you're willing to invest because sometimes you know you need something that doesn't exist, and it's going to be very, very expensive to make it exist. And the question is there something commercially available that's good enough that you could get by with? And you see that a lot. You see people using readily available technologies. Everybody does it. It makes sense. You use screws that somebody else makes.
Well, why reinvent the wheel?
Because
as they
why
say?
would you make your own, right? But sometimes you need to. And that's the challenge. Knowing when you should go past the commercially available solutions. And it is a bit of a trick. So you got to kind of sort of have a vision, have a goal in mind, figure out what you really need to push for. Because otherwise you end up spending $1 billion on something and you never end up shipping.
So back to the topic, though.
Yeah.
What is base slam? Like, how do you get base slam? Now, first of all, there's no measurement for it that I'm aware of because it's more of a perceptual thing, right?
Well, it's probably a combination of factors.
I mean, there's no one measurement.
It's not
Right.
a number.
There's no slam figure.
Oh, this is
Not yet,
100
no.
You
slam
can't throw a
units?
headphone on the test head in our other room here and go, here's the slam percentage.
It
Doesn't
would be
work.
pretty cool, though.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Now, you may be able to look at the measurements and go, well, maybe, but I don't think so. Like, frequency response is not really going to tell you that. There are certain frequencies that do tend to lend themselves, like for impact. I know, like bass impact. Like, if you play with EQ, it's probably the way you get these ideas that frequency response affects this stuff, right? If you mess with EQ and decide, okay, if I boost this, what does something sound better? Well, that boost or cut that you do with EQ is relative to the speaker you're listening to. And
That's
you
a
have to
complicated thing.
think about that because that's what people are misunderstanding.
Right.
It's only related to what you're listening to, that speaker, or even the system. It depends on the amplifier, the amplification, how much power you have, how
Yeah.
good is the amp, what's its damping factor, what's it plugged into, is it running at the right voltage, what cables are connected to it in between the two, is it a long length, is it a short length, is it a high resistance, what's the driver, there's all kinds of things that go into a system to decide how impactful it can be. So to say that, oh, I measured this speaker or headphone and it shows a 3 dB peak at whatever, 100 or
Right.
200 hertz, and so, oh, that's for better slam. Come on.
Well, see, that's a rational way
You know?
to think about things. And I think people that look at things in a more simplistic manner, they're not actually considering every detail. That's, I think, how most people would come out. And it makes sense. And it's true to some extent. And that's typically the reality. Things are always true to some extent. But you're looking at more or less the correlation, not the causation, right? I saw a study thing or somebody posted it online somewhere that somebody that could do 60 push-ups in 10 minutes or something like that is like 97% less likely to die from cardiovascular disease. And the interesting thing is people took this in the comments. People were saying basically like, oh, all I need to do is basically be able to do 60 push-ups and I'm not going to die from cardiovascular
Well, by all
disease.
means, you should work on that then.
Right, but what they seem to fail to
Nothing wrong with
understand is the push-ups have no bearing. Like it's very
Right.
possible, in fact, likely that the lifestyle, the conditions that led this person to be in a physical shape where they're allowed to do this is the things that have the impact on their likelihood,
Yeah, he didn't
not
get-
the actual push-ups.
Well, yeah, and then you know that guy who is now done with his push-ups went and ate a dozen chicken wings and
Yeah.
sucked down a couple pitchers of beer. You know, over time that's gonna
It's complicated.
you're gonna
like
start
everything.
you're still gonna be dropping below 60 at some point, 50, 40.
Right, but that's what people
Sure.
mean when they say correlation is not causation. Because you could say,
True.
well, when this happens, this is the outcome. But there's a lot of factors outside that you're not controlling for. So you could EQ something. You could push the bass up. You could put some mid-band frequency up. And it may, in fact, most likely will increase the slam perceived.
Perceived.
However, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what causes slam. Right? There's a lot of factors outside that
Yeah.
that you're not controlling for. You're just
Yeah.
taking a driver and you're saying, well, let's pump this frequency up.
Well, that's the thing. It boils down to the driver. It boils down to the driver design, the technology of the driver, how it's driven. You know, like we've talked about electrostatic drivers where they're great at some things, but because the electrostatic force is so weak, that's moving this really, really low mass diaphragm, right? You can only get so much slam out of it. How much you going to get before you overload the driver, right? Before you can't throw that much at it. It's just not. It's a system that just ain't. It's not designed for that. And same with the opposite is the dynamic drivers. You've got a speaker with a cone, right? A whizzer cone in the middle for better highs.
Not usually in headphones.
A coil of wire, right? You got all this mass, right? It's got its own basket. You got all this mass, right? So now okay, and let's say you could throw a little bit of power at that and make it move with a little bit of slam. Well, it's hard to make something heavy slam. because
Yeah.
slam is not only about how good it starts, but how it stops too, right? I mean, kind of. It needs to be fast. People call it fast.
Right.
The speed of a driver, and it's relative to its mass and how it's driven and the amplifier you're using and the voice coil technology, or how big or small it is, how many windings it is, there's so many things to consider that would adjust slam. That it doesn't matter what the frequency response is. It's either one driver will slam better or worse than another driver in a system, in a cabinet, in an enclosure, in a speaker.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it is the whole system that matters.
Right.
Because I mean, if you have a headphone that has good slam, but you're running it off, your phone 50 milliwatts or whatever, you'd be like, oh, it doesn't slam like I heard. And it's like, well, you need to give it some power.
Yeah, right.
And there's a lot of tips and tricks that you can do to adjust that. And like we mentioned many times, when you're designing the system, if you design knowing you have a desire to have a lot of slam in your finished product, there's a lot of things you can do to help manipulate that. But all these things, they don't really work. It's not like a recipe per se. It's really everything's a compromise to arrive at the desired goal. So you're trying to figure out what factors do you care about more. And almost overwhelmingly, the thing that's hardest to do is to do everything at the same time. Now, most people try to make everything better, but usually you're sacrificing one for another to some extent. And the goal is to try to find the most good with the least bad. And, well, some people care more about things than others, so you end up with headphones that sound different in different frequency ranges, different spectrums, because they didn't care like one company did or another company. And that's, I guess, a good thing if you ask me, because you get products that sound different, that perform differently, and that seems desirable because then it means you're more likely to be able to find one that you like.
This scenario has been going on and on in the speaker world. I know people used to argue about sealed cabinets versus ported cabinets and
open baffle,
Yeah, right.
Electrostats.
Yeah, all the different ways to take a dynamic driver and stick it on something and play it.
Yeah.
And it's the same deal. The bass is the biggest difference with these different cabinet designs.
That's what when I think of slam, like a lot of people, they're like, they don't realize until they're like, oh, I now know what everybody's talking about with slam. They never heard a lot. And I think the best example always is like modern live concerts. When you just got you got thousands and thousands of
tens
watts.
of thousands.
Yeah, tens of thousands of
we
watts.
got our own generator
and it's
truck
just
running.
like, you're just getting nailed in the chest. And it's just like, you can't do that any other way, right?
Yeah, right. Well, power does solve a lot of problems when
Yeah.
it comes to slam factor,
That's a bit
why,
of an extreme.
That's why, if you're going to have like an Apple in-ear, or whatever, any in-ear, you're not going to get slam out of in-ear. I mean, because you're...
Well, it would need to be more or less dynamic. It would need to be some sort of fancy EQ doing it. Like theoretically, you could get a lot of enhancement to the perceived slam from like a feedback system, a feedback servo drive. And that makes a lot of sense. But the trouble is, like anything, you had a crossover, and there's challenges with the crossover now, right? You had a servo feedback system, and you could do the best in the world, but it's still worse than not having it. The trouble is you're using this servo system to overcome challenges that you couldn't overcome another way. So it may make the final product better, and in fact, I would imagine in most cases they do this, it does. But that doesn't mean that it's better to have it than not. It's just there's challenges you couldn't fix another way.
Yeah, but I still think like it's more of a tactile thing, this whole idea of something like you got to have enough air moving to tickle the hairs on your ear, so to speak, or the hair or the lining of your eardrum, whatever. It's more than just a noise. It's the way the noise is presented on the initial impact. You know what I mean?
Right. It's the rate of change.
It's the force
typically.
of that frequency hitting you. It's not necessarily the frequency itself, and it's not volume. Like it's not like turning up. Sometimes turning up the volume helps,
right?
Obviously, right? But you still can have a lot of volume and still have soft impact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of like contrast and compared to brightness, like on a video.
I guess, yeah,
right. Same kind of thing.
Yeah, right. And by turning one up more than the other, or vice versa, you almost got to adjust both of them to get it right for this thing to look natural, right? And it's the same with you're trying to set up a speaker system or a headphone to produce slam. Well, you could produce a ton of slam, but then now what? Now, so you've designed a driver that'll move really fast, really quickly at 20 hertz or 50 hertz. but it sucks everywhere else.
That's the trouble, right?
Well, that ain't gonna work. Yeah, because that's why people use subwoofers and 2-channel, because
Right.
the subs are made to work below 100 or so.
Yes, just
That's all
specialize.
they're good
in
at.
Just one thing.
Yeah, and it's really tight. For a main speaker, that's very difficult to do. Very difficult to do. And it's the same with headphones. We're talking about trying to run a driver full range. It's hard to do. All properly.
Right.
It's tough to do.
So logically, it seems rational. Well, I could just put 8 drivers in. And they do that in things like IEMs. Some headphones have multiple drivers, but then there's downsides with that too. So you solve one problem, you create another, and you end up with all these trade-offs. And sometimes when you're designing a thing, that's desirable because the end result you're going for, you don't feel could be achieved another way. However, it doesn't mean it's the best approach. It doesn't mean it's the approach that is what everyone else should be doing. It's just the one you happen to choose because of the various parameters that you had to control under.
Or in the case of like a rock concert, it's impractical to have a rock concert in your
Stacks.
living room.
Very
Stacks of
impractical,
amps.
yeah.
Yeah, just racks and racks,
Yeah.
speakers everywhere.
Well, the neighbors would really be
that
pissed
too, yeah.
off.
And you'd be deaf.
Yeah, and I would say like the studs would loosen in your house over time.
You'd
The
have
nails would
problems.
start popping out of the drywall. I mean, the acoustic pressure involved is crazy.
But it's a little different there too, even because
Yeah.
in something like that in a live venue, you have very different dimensions, and you have compared to what you would have in a house typically, you have very different attenuation in your environment.
well,
than
the
you would
outside is like
typically
an
see.
infinite space.
Yeah.
Right, so you're going to get this variable
You're
attenuation
loading
depending on
a
the frequency.
Infinite space.
Yeah, but you could have an environment that emphasizes slam,
Sure.
and it's not the power that makes it actually apparent. It just so happens to be in its environment. It's accentuated naturally anyways, and the power and the volume just create more immersive, impressive experience that you can't deliver elsewhere.
Distance tends to play a part there too. You stand within 50 feet of that 10,000 watts coming at you. You're gonna feel it.
And you have the physical impact too
Yeah.
on your body, which is going to
Yeah.
exaggerate things a bit.
Yeah.
Or like 15 feet away, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, that's why all
Yeah.
those old school rock and roll guys are all deaf now. 'Cause
Well, yeah.
they were like 10 feet away from them. You know?
Well, you go to some of these concerts, it blows my mind, and some people are actually standing
You're standing
by
right
the
next to the
speakers.
speakers.
I'm
Yeah.
like, geez,
Deafening.
I couldn't even handle it in the back.
Yeah.
Right.
And these people are just standing there, like taking it in, like it's taking
They
a
like
shower.
a lot of slam.
Yeah,
That's what it
that's
is.
a lot of slam.
Yeah, you really feel the music.
Now, see, there's nothing we can make in headphones that's going to press those
No.
people.
Not that.
Which we should talk about that before we end the video. We should talk about what your experience level is. Like I've had some people say, "Oh, I don't know which headphone it was. One of our headphones. Oh, it doesn't have any slam." And I'm thinking, headphone has all kinds of slam. And you look at the guy's bio, and he's running speaker amps on headphones, right? He's running
Right.
200, 300, 400-watt speaker. I forgot what it was. A big speaker. In his bio, he listed the amp. It was a big amplifier. I'm like, well, yeah, you're not. Oh, that was he was talking about how, no headphone amp could have the kind of slam, blah, blah, blah. And it's
Right.
like, yeah, well, I mean, okay, I agree with you, because you're running a 300-watt speaker. Now,
Yeah.
obviously, at some point, something's going to give up the ghost there. That's not a sustainable slam factor there. You know what I mean? The headphone's going to go uncle, and it's going to stop working one day, and it's going to be good.
Uncle?
Yeah. Uncle? Yeah, give up. Yes.
Okay.
Isn't that how it goes? That was a saying?
Yeah.
Give up, call uncle.
Yeah,
don't know.
I guess
That's the thing.
I mean,
Yeah.
it is
Used to be.
essentially unlimited power there.
But see
on
that
tap.
from that guy's standpoint though, nothing would have slam to him. Right? So in other words, if he was a reviewer, say he went on YouTube and he's going to review headphones now because he always wanted to do that. Everything sucks, right? Well, yeah, because
Well, it's
you're
misleading.
comparing it to some unique system you came up with to play that really doesn't. It's not out there, and it's kind of like it's the same with cars and speed and automobiles. It's the same kind of thing, you're same thing.
Yeah. Some people think a Miata's fast.
Yeah,
Others don't.
it's relative.
Well,
It is.
some people call street cars that are actually track cars.
Right.
It's like trailered to the strip. Oh, but it's a street
Street
car.
car,
It's like,
right.
yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
about that. It's like you didn't drive it here, so
Yeah,
That's right.
I think certain police officers would differ in their opinion on it.
Depends
Well,
on where you live.
that's true.
That's true.
You can get away with a lot in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they don't care. They're probably buddies.
Could
Sure.
be.
Well, a lot of these things are actually legal. They pass inspection. Some of these things you see at like these events where people take streetcars that have to be road illegal, and you drive around the country or whatever, various tracks, and you
Yeah.
run a quarter mile or whatever. Some of these cars are legitimately, apparently street legal in wherever they came from, Nebraska or something. I don't know.
A lot of those guys still do get pulled over,
Yeah.
Well,
but
sure
they
you do.
make it.
But yeah,
Not here in New York. You ain't gonna get away with much. That's for sure.
well, it's not as bad as
Better have your
California.
front license plate on here.
Oh,
Yeah, they do get a little picky about the
All
front
kinds of
license
problems
plate.
with license plates.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're not worried about slam so much.
Yeah.
You get a
No.
lot of slam in your car audio
Yeah.
system.
Yeah. But you know what? I have found that my Jeep's exhaust system, that 392, now has good slam.
Good slam.
Yeah.
Yeah. They did a good job of it. I've been listening to other trucks, like the Raptor came out with a
Have you
V8.
now?
Yeah. And the exhausts suck on
No
it.
slam.
Yeah, no slam.
Yeah, it is surprisingly
Dodge
good
did a great job with that thing.
on the Jeep.
Yeah.
Better than all their other vehicles, really.
Yeah. I mean, someone's got some good SolidWorks acoustic modeling software
Yeah.
going on there. But better yet, they're subjectively tuning it, for sure.
Well,
Well, you see how big the
Yeah.
exhaust is on that thing? Huge muffler.
That
with
helps.
exhaust,
Yeah.
usually subjective is kind of the number one
I
priority.
kind of
for most
noticed that
people.
on some of these trucks. Like they have right. Seems like there's almost the exhaust is a resonator
Yeah.
too. You know,
Yeah.
like to change. Like I saw someone changed out their exhaust to another version,
Yeah.
like stock, not other stock. It sounded like shit.
Yeah,
It went
watched
higher
something-
up in pitch.
Yeah.
It's like that's not better
Yeah,
than the
it's-
stock.
Yeah, I saw like 2 or 3 people with aftermarket exhaust on
Yeah.
the 392, and they're not better than the
No,
stock one.
no. Some
So-
guys will say they are.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's nice. Yeah, because you spent $3,000 on it. It
Right.
sucks.
What they do is they either didn't have the car or they didn't have a lot of time with the car, and they just make a bent pipe configuration that is from their experience good for flow or whatever, and
on a V8.
that was it. Right? They didn't put the time in that the actual OEM did to design the exhaust. They might have done 100 different configurations and computer modeling and all that.
But when you listen to the exhaust, is that actually the pistons you're hearing? It's the sound of the pistons pushing air.
It's the dinosaurs
Yeah.
screaming.
So do more modern pistons sound different than the old pistons?
You're not listening to the Pistons. You better not be. That means you got a
Oh, isn't
problem.
that what's making the noise?
Well, the explosions are making the noise.
Oh, okay, oh, that's it then. So it's that whole combination of the piston, the area, the valves, how many valves there are, right?
Well, that all
it-
makes noise.
How
but-
it creates the explosion is
I'm
what
not sure if
matters.
somebody put a lot of effort into this. I
See,
think
now
it's
we're
more of a
getting
try and
somewhere.
see.
Yeah,
People probably just kind of like do stuff and then see what it does on that one. Probably.
I know. But actually, I never really thought about it. The source of the sound is the gas exploding in the chamber.
Yeah, dinosaurs.
Yeah, so
They scream.
Yeah, they're going
yeah,
ah.
that's true. On that note, we better move on because we're obviously boring the living crap out of people.
Where are we?
I don't know.
Maybe this is thrilling.
Yeah, could be. I don't know.
I'm thrilled.
We are totally thrilled.
People should let us know if they're
Our
thrilled.
ghost buddy hasn't moved, so he doesn't care. It hasn't even affected him
He's
at all.
scary.
Yeah,
I'm terrified.
yeah. I don't know. He's a
That's not
lightweight.
nice. He doesn't like that.
He doesn't weigh a lot. We
How
got
do you
him.
know? You picked him up. He has mass.
Please subscribe. Thumbs us up. We got good stuff coming. Don't miss it. Thanks.